This show is brought to you by LIVSN Designs. That's LIVSN. Guys, I cannot get enough of this brand. Ask anybody. They make the best apparel for the life of a climber. Comfortable, flexible, durable, all with an undeniable sense of outdoor fashion. Plus, LIVSN has a wide variety of killer color options, whether you want to stand out in the caramel yellow or keep a low profile with their dusk blue. Most importantly, LIVSN makes clothes that you can live in and climb in every single day. As an added bonus, LIVSN is making their clothes with recycled ocean waste, which I think is pretty cool. And there's a 30-day money-back guarantee. So you can buy it, try it, and if you still don't like it, you will get your money back. Right now, you can get 15% off at LIVSN by using the link in the description below and using code TCM15 at checkout. That's the link in the description below and TCM15 for 15% off at checkout. Man, this has been a long time coming.
Dude, it's good to be here.
Yeah, it is good to have you here, man. I'm glad we waited so long.
Dude, yeah, this is a legit setup.
Thank you.
Are you a professional or something?
Trying to be. Trying to bring some professionalism to the climbing space. That's for sure.
I mean, you're doing a fantastic job. In person is amazing. Being able to like sit with you.
For sure.
And actually, I don't know, there's subtleties I feel like that are missed when you're just doing it over the interwebs.
For sure. It's much more logistically complicated to do in person.
Yeah.
But even if I have these ideas of like going and doing like a mobile studio and like it sounds great, but it's like look at this setup. Like,
yeah,
how would you do that with a van?
It'd be hard to do in a van. I mean, you could like probably orchestrate a van that was built solely around a studio, but then you wouldn't be able to sleep in it. Exactly. It wouldn't be very functional. It would just be a studio.
Exactly.
And then you've just invested a massive amount of money into a van studio, but that's cool nonetheless. But yeah, this is proper.
Yeah, I'm going to be sticking here for a while. So hopefully, if anybody's in town, this will be the setup.
Yeah, gotta get them out, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the first time we had canceled because Max had some personal issues. Mm-hmm. And then I think we rescheduled for like 2 or 3 months later. Mm-hmm. And then both you and I got absolutely ripped on Labor Day. Exactly a year ago.
Yeah, exactly 1 year ago.
Yeah, exactly.
The timing, you couldn't be more impeccable.
It was on accident too. I was like, hey, how about Monday? And I was like, wait a second. That's Labor Day.
It's perfect.
I have some vague memories about Labor Day last year.
Yeah, I do too. Although maybe they're a little bit, dicey here and there, considering looking at
the recordings. You were coherent. I was trashed. I don't know how you kept your cool so well.
I don't know. Yeah, I feel like when it's game time, you just like focus, even though on the inside you're like, oh, you know?
Yeah, well, you got a better game face than I do.
You say that. I don't do very well in poker.
Yeah, I was joking. I was like, I could release the drunken episode for like $100 on Patreon or something.
Yeah,
it's like, if you really want to watch it,
make people pay for it,
and then blackmail me with it, and then the Climbing Majority gets canceled. Yeah,
that'll never happen. The majority wins always.
Always. We're getting stronger.
Yeah, you are.
We're getting stronger.
Yeah, I see you guys. You're out there. A lot of people I talk to. Maybe it's because you're in Vegas and we're in Vegas, and most of the people I climb with are in Vegas, know who you are. But for the most part, I see all the stuff on social media, and I see the ads, and I see your personal Instagram is doing really well. So I think people are really starting to like take note and see the quality that you bring to the space. I think that's really cool.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that.
For sure.
Yeah, it's definitely a weird space in the social media world to like stand out in the climbing. You can get really, popular on social media, but sometimes it's just all hate. Like people are
nasty, bro.
People are nasty for sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, I get it. Like sometimes attention is not deserved. There's some people that I personally don't follow, even though they're super popular. Mm-hmm. And so I'm sure there's people that don't like what I do, but
sure. I mean, but yeah, different strokes for folks, right? Like, I think oftentimes people get so ingrained in watching their favorite climber, they kind of lose sight of like what's happening around them. Like so and so at the gym did the nose in a day. Like, what the heck? Like, I didn't even know they were like doing stuff, And I think that's where your podcast shines. I feel like, because more often than not, people are able to do a lot more grand things. They're just not spraying about it all all the time. They're not in the limelight. Yeah, exactly. And like, people don't really want to show you like the nitty gritty all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's also hard to even be noticed in all the noise.
Yeah.
There's so many people that climb so hard and do such cool things that Yeah, it's a full-time job to like get noticed in this giant mess of social media that this
People
we
are
experience.
so strong these days. People, I mean, there's all sorts of different stories out there, and there's many reasons why so many different people are where they are in the limelight of climbing, I would say. But I feel like, I don't know, it's not that it's played out. Like, I still watch, like, all the new releases of all these cool, hard achievements and stuff because I just love the movement of climbing and so on. But it's so oversaturated now. I could only imagine like trying to break into the space now and like make a name for yourself and, be an up and comer. It's a completely different space.
Yeah. Yeah, I think at least with content wise, the area of strength I found is consistency.
Yeah.
I think the key there is being true to yourself. It's like I think a lot of people have this pressure on social media to like create some sort of facade or some sort of like character. Mm-hmm. And when you try to do that, sure, you might go viral for that personality that you have, but how long can you keep that up?
Yeah.
How many years can you be that person? And then maybe you aren't that person anymore. And you feel pressured to be that person still because that's what got you quote unquote famous, right?
Yeah.
I know so many social media influencers, not even just in the climbing space, that kind of have that plaguing them where like they've built this personality and now they're stuck in a way. It just eats at your soul.
That's the trap of social media. Because as soon as something works, let's say you get like a video that does like 20 million views and all of a sudden you get like 100,000 new followers. All those people expect you to do that thing. And then it's like, no, but I'm actually like, you saw not even 1% of who I am. Like, I didn't even put much thought into that video or that photo or whatever. And now everyone thinks I'm
the guy who does X, the girl who does X, like
the guy that almost dropped his cam on the multi-pitch.
Dude, that fucking reel has gone crazy.
Yeah, that's sick, but it's so real. I mean, we've all been there. Well, a lot of people have been there where you're like in a situation, you almost drop your quick draw or you almost drop your cam or something is about to go really wrong. And so it's like a visceral reaction. Like, oh, dude, like, what if that was the only piece he had for that moment? It's like that would have been kind of weird.
Yeah. The one weird thing I think about climbing is that I've found that it's such a niche community. Like, and then you go trad climbing, it's like even more niche. And I think people say that, but I don't think they really realize how niche it really is. And what I found is like a lot of the content that I see go super, super viral are the ones that explode out of the climbing community and reach general population.
Yeah.
It's when climbing content hits the masses that you go crazy viral.
Yeah.
And what I found is these people don't even know what climbing is. 1, 2, they think climbing is the stupidest thing on the planet. 3, like, have no respect for you and think you're like trying to kill yourself. But it's weird because like they're still so attracted to the content because it's like it creates all this visceral feeling like you mentioned, but they just don't understand it. And so it's like, sure, like, it's got all this attention, but no one really, like the large majority of the viewership that reel has, a lot of the people don't even grasp the point of the video in the first place.
Yeah.
So it's weird.
I think that's true of a lot of like, industries might not be the right word, like the lane that you run in, because like this is true in like the work that I do. I work in digital accessibility in my like normal job, and like one of the biggest things is we all know what digital accessibility is in our industry, and we're always talking about it on LinkedIn, and and it's like always areas, sticking points and areas in which we feel like could be improved, or how we're doing this, that, and the other for the community and stuff. And one of my friends put it out there, just plain and simple: we have to stop talking about this amongst ourselves. Like, nothing's going to change. It needs to reach the people that don't know anything about this. And I think that's true for climbing as well. Like, at some point, there's so much content, so much media footage of like strong climbing and casual climbing and climbing stories, and all of it's awesome for climbers, but like to really, I think, excel in a space where you're trying to like reach the broadest audience, you have to make it relatable in some way.
But I think that's also a trap too, because then you become the person who's like, this is how you use a cam, or like, this is how a quick draw works. And then it's funny because the second you start targeting non-climbers, climbers hate your content. And so it's like you piss off one group to achieve access in another. And so it's this weird dichotomy of attention. Because I'm just a climber. I'm just filming myself climbing. So I just want to film moments like that. And I don't know. Yeah, it's an interesting world we live in.
Yeah, double-edged sword.
It is.
I think it's incredible that the first podcast didn't work in the sense that we've been able to build such a rich brotherhood, like a deep friendship. And now it's completely different. And I don't have I have the opportunity to talk to you as my friend and someone that I trust deeply rather than just like talking to someone that I don't know. Not that talking to someone you don't know is bad. It's a different interaction, but I feel like this is a lot more special.
For sure, man. I agree. Yeah, I think, I was actually thinking about this today. Like I was trying to envision the actual like moment we actually first met. Like, was it one of your house parties at your house that I went over?
That's a good question. I mean, like the first time we had an interaction was just like an onboarding
Digitally.
call.
Yeah.
But did we go climbing together first?
We
I don't remember.
must have.
I think we went climbing together at Mount Potosi.
Okay.
Maybe like around that time.
Oh, okay. And the catalyst for the actual connection was me reaching out to get you on the show.
Yeah.
That's right.
I think so.
That's right.
For sure.
Yeah.
But the funniest part of it was that we were doing this call, trying to just like, get to know each other a little bit on that onboarding call. And as it turned out, like, you just live like a couple blocks away from me.
Exactly.
Which is really cool.
Yeah. I've never had like I call them my meet and greets.
Yeah.
I have yet to have a meet and greet like blossom into such a friendship.
For sure.
So it was cool. Like, yeah, I was like, yeah, let's get on the show. It's like, actually, this guy's pretty chill.
Yeah.
Let's hang out. So
Yeah, for sure.
It is cool, man. It's really special to be sitting down. And like I mentioned, it's been quite a long time from that moment where we were, just having a guest on the show to kind of sitting down in this kind of real space. So yeah, I appreciate you being here.
Yeah. Thanks, dude. I really appreciate being here. It's a huge honor.
Hell yeah, man. Well, yeah, I think, I'm going to give you a big intro and, there's been lots of media coverage kind of about who you are. And, I just listened to the Nuggets episode and he did such a great job at kind of giving a really great foundation for your life and, your climbing. And so, I think today we're definitely going to go a bit deeper.
Yeah.
I guess I don't want to identify you with my own verbiage. So in some articles that I've read, you've mentioned yourself as a climber who just happens to be blind. I guess like in this space as a human, like how do you identify yourself?
That's a good question. Let's like fundamentally, I would say that I'm a child of God. Like, I think that's the most important thing. And that's how I think I view the world by, and that's like been, deconstructed and reconstructed many times to get to the point where I feel like I'm even at a place where I can say that. But yeah, it's funny. I guess to prerequisite that question with I won a world championship in 2018, and I remember thinking, I'm just like a kid from Oklahoma. How am I here now? So I still feel like that kid. And so like it seems to me like I'm a rock climber first and foremost. And then there's a whole lot of, let me start over. I probably identify most as just a rock climber. There's a whole lot that goes into just saying I feel like I'm a rock climber, but yeah, I feel like I love climbing. I just like to go climbing. And so
how long have you been climbing now at this point?
10 years.
10 years. Mm-hmm. And I'd say like, because of your visual impairment, I would say a lot of like the media and the narrative that has kind of been built around you is kind of through this lens of your visual impairment. And in your answer to this question about identity, you're a climber first. Like that's your main source of identity. Whereas it seems like from an outsider's perspective, who someone doesn't know you, it's like, oh, that's the blind climber. Yeah. Like, oh, Justin, the blind climber. Like, I would imagine that's how a lot of people who don't really know you, identify you.
Sure.
And so in that aspect, like, do you feel like the world has kind of boxed you in a way in regards to the narrative that the kind of world has built for you? And is there something about that like is bringing up a portion of your identity that you don't necessarily like want to have to identify with on such a consistent basis?
That's a good question. Yeah, because when I started climbing, it was just because I didn't have a lot going in life. I was like trying to figure out what the next chapter was supposed to be. When I found climbing, it was something I really, I had like a deep passion for it. So it was just like, I'm going climbing all the time. Like that's what we do. And then it wasn't until like word started getting around that, I was doing really well and I was dealing with these circumstances of, vision loss, and people found it really interesting how I adapted to it. And so the story and the narrative started forming, and, I leaned into it. I think that was like the natural evolution of that. And even though the story started like manifesting by itself, I found that in some situations that narrative was great because people very quickly were able to identify what I was up against if they ran into me at the crag or if they saw me out in person or whatever. It was like they could pretty quickly like, oh, I know he can't see me. I'll come up and introduce myself, that kind of stuff. So there are situations like that are good. But it is interesting too that like oftentimes within like media or selling yourself as an athlete, it can be like challenging to some degree to always be like repeating yourself, especially like with a visual impairment like mine, where it doesn't seem as though it doesn't manifest itself super obviously. Sometimes it seems that it can be demonstrative to always be, I'm the blind guy. I'm a blind climber. Every video starts with, I'm Justin. I'm the blind climber. It's like, it kind of feels to me like it's just someone else moaning about a problem that they have online. And I don't know. I started like kind of second guessing myself with a lot of the way that I put myself forward. And I didn't want to like stretch the truth, or I felt insecure about talking about certain things. So like, yeah, maybe like to sum up the question, like it has its perks and it also comes with a big set of like some baggage.
Yeah. You found climbing before you lost your vision?
After.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. It's 'cause I was like still riding BMX and still playing soccer and all these things. And climbing was like the only thing that I felt like I could actually like, there wasn't a stopping point that I could find. Whereas with like some of the other things, like, yeah, I could do bar spins and spins and stuff, but like tail whips, I don't know. It was hard for me to find the pedals when it came back around, and I would run into parked cars and stuff, and like that shit hurts to hug. Like my shins. I don't know.
There's a lot more uncontrollable variables.
Exactly. Yeah. There's like, yeah. I mean, there's like inherent risk in what we do, but like you try to minimize and be so in control that you're like calculating every given move that you make.
Yeah. So I guess talk like for people who aren't fully aware of exactly kind of what your visual reality is, like I guess give us a quick picture of like what your visual experience is like.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's interesting. So I found when I was younger, blindness seemed like it was pretty binary. Maybe that's probably like most people's perception of what blindness is.
Like dark void or fully color.
Yeah, exactly. Like you either see well, maybe you need glasses, but otherwise blindness is like a black blind individual that uses a cane and they like, they're like hands stretched out, Squeezy McSqueezerson, from The Office.
Blind guy McSqueezy.
Dude, exactly. Which is just good comedy. It's just so good. I remember, I think I've said this before, but I was like, there was a guy at the church that I went to as a kid, and he was completely blind. And I was like jumping around and dancing in front of him. And he didn't, he had no idea other than the fact that I was probably extremely obvious, like obviously he can hear really well. He's got amazing proprioception most likely. So I'm sure that he knew what was going on. But in my childish view of what was going on was this is just what blindness is. He can't see me. And then going through vision loss now, I've realized that spectrum is huge. Everyone has all sorts of different types of vision loss. And so mine just so happens to be or it's like 5% vision in the middle, like right in the center is missing. And then my peripheral works to a certain degree. Although my left eye is it's pretty bad now. Like it's gotten very dark. It's almost hardly even usable now. Right eye is a lot better. But my peripheral vision works pretty well, minus the fact that I needed glasses when I was a kid anyway. So I can correct for the eye itself, but because the optic nerve is what's died or partially dead, even if you correct the eyes with some type of vision modality, it doesn't do anything because it's like a camera sensor. If the sensor's damaged, not a whole lot of information is getting in there.
Mm-hmm. And is it continually degenerative?
That's a good question. The reason I say it's a good question is because it's not diagnosed.
Well, I guess in your experience, is it degenerative?
It has gotten worse. Okay. Yeah, but all the best doctors in the country have told me that it won't be completely shut out blind, but there's actually no way to say that, definitely.
How was dealing with the lack of prognosis, lack of diagnosis when you were told you're you have vision loss and they're well, we don't know what it is or what's going to happen. Was that kind of, because it's easy. It's you broke your leg. It's or you got your foot chopped off. It's a bit more conceptually, you're able to conceptualize that and kind of accept that. Yeah. Seems like yours is a bit more fleeting. It's not really, you can't really lock anything down.
Yeah, for sure. It's tough because it is what it is, and it just it's tangible because it's what I'd live with, and so it kind of doesn't matter what the diagnosis is to some degree. You can't change it, so it is what it is. But on the other side of it, when the vision loss was happening, it was my reality. But also, the doctors were telling me that it was in my head, it's stress.
Oh.
And that I don't know. That was a new low point, It's I'm stressed because I can't see,
Yeah, chicken before the egg. You're no, it's definitely the chicken.
Yeah, exactly. So even my parents were PhD, whatever, dude.
That sucks. How long did it take for people to take you seriously?
I don't know if through my childhood people really ever did, at least clinically.
Wow.
Especially because they couldn't say that it was defined to a specific genome that pointed to a specific type of vision loss. It wasn't you have Leber's hereditary optic neuropathy or you have Stargard's or whatever. It was we can see that your optic nerve is dying. And that was probably the biggest thing was going to a neuro-ophthalmologist and that guy actually looking at my brain, looking at the nerves and pinpointing to the optic nerve and saying, yes, your optic nerve is dying or dead, or it swelled to a point in which that it started to atrophy.
Wow.
And he could look at it on his imaging and tell me that, definitely. That guy was really cool.
Yeah. At least gave you some actual concrete answers to what's anatomically happening.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I guess that's the point of a specialist though, right? they're going to be able to look at things in a completely different lens that someone who's like filtering out people that are like complaining about their vision at a general eye exam, even if it's like a little bit more of a deeper look than the average person, they're still going to be able to like dig deeper, and they have a more rich knowledge base of all these different types of visual problems and diseases that they've come across, and their whole job is to try and figure out what the problem is. But I just so happened to be a case where no one could figure out what the problem was.
In your experience, has that been a pretty common thing for people with visual impairment, like undiagnosed, like would you call it neuropathy?
Yeah, optic neuropathy.
Optic neuropathy.
Yeah.
Is that like have you seen that before, or is that like a pretty rare case?
I haven't met too many people in the blind community that have like completely undiagnosed eye disease. Yeah. A lot of people end up with something called retinitis pigmentosa in their later years, or sometimes, like some of my friends have retinitis pigmentosa or RP, and it develops as a child, and they may never lose their vision. But a lot of people will get that eye disease later in life, and it kind of comes out of the blue, and there's like a little bit of investigating, but they eventually like pinpoint it to something. So those diseases that come out of the blue are, sometimes hard to diagnose, but yeah, I've had like blood test, I've had blood test sent to the National Eye Institute, saliva DNA test, bone scans, MRIs, CAT scans with contrast. I mean, literally, they like threw the books at me.
Wow.
Yeah, all inconclusive.
Inconclusive.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Now, like there was, at least for me in my own little Sherlock Holmes adventures, I had almost died from a hip infection a couple of years. I'm maybe a little bit vague on the timeline, but I think I had my 13th birthday in the hospital because I had a septic hip. I got MRSA staph infection in my hip joint, and it almost killed me. And then like maybe a year or two approximately, I started losing my vision. And at least I think it might have been related to the drug that they gave me. It was an antibiotic called vancomycin. And Vanc is like, it's pretty potent. Like at the time it was like the strongest antibiotic that was known to man, and they were treating my sepsis with that drug, and come to find out that it has caused like quite a few different types of atrophies of different nerves throughout the body. So I'm like, that kind of makes sense, like especially one doctor who was like, she was like retiring, and she worked at it was called New View in Oklahoma, like a blindness clinic for all sorts of different types of issues with blindness. And she was like, "You've been keeping me up at night, I'm like, "What'd you find out?" And then she like put this massive stack of papers on the desk and was like pointing out all these things with vancomycin and stuff. And then she like closed it and then was like, "Before you lost your vision, did it ever seem like you were looking through a screen door one day?" And I was like, "Yeah, like why?" And she was like, "Well, what was that moment like?" And I was like, "I don't know. I played a ton of video games as a kid. Like I was so good at Halo 2, bro." Like I was really good. And one day I couldn't see the TV very well, and so I just stopped playing, and I went out to dinner, and I was like, "I can't see very well today." It's like, I don't know. It's like beyond any type of issues that I've had where I needed glasses or whatever. And my dad kind of just was like, "Oh, you've just been playing too many video games." But I know that's such a dad thing to say, but I believed what he was saying because he was for sure right. I was playing a lot of video games, bro,
Yeah.
So, I mean, when she said, "Did it look like you were looking through a screen door?" For sure. That was a moment. If they could have caught that moment, they could have potentially given me steroids. And reduced the swelling and limited any vision loss I could have ever had.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. I think it's easy to connect the dots there and basically like self-diagnose yourself in that way.
Yeah.
At least that's what I would do. I'd be like, for sure, that's it. Like, even if it's not true, it's well within a shadow of a doubt that I'm willing to just believe it.
Yeah, it's all too connected.
Yeah. But at that time, it seems like, you had a serious infection too. So it's like maybe you could have died.
I was pretty close. Yeah. I don't think people really let on to how close I really was. Because like my fever was 106 and I couldn't stop it. It just was like my body was septic. I was shutting down. And when they finally did, like they biopsied the site in my hip and they cultured it. And as soon as they figured out that it was a staph infection, because MRSA is just a form of staph infection. And if there's doctors listening and that's incorrect, I sincerely apologize. But that's from what I understand. And they were able to biopsy that. And as soon as they got the results, like a whole herd of people rushed in my room. And it was like, we're going to surgery. We're like, we have to go right now. Because they knew that I wasn't very far away. So yeah, that was a whole journey back when I was a young kid.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the Lord spared your life, but it came at a cost.
Yeah, for sure. Well, there's always collateral, just like anything in life, war and social dynamics and whatever. It's like, it is what it is. There's always a balance to life.
This show is brought to you by LIVSN Designs. If LIVSN were only known for one piece of apparel, it would be their overalls. I just got back from a reggae music festival in Vegas, and I kid you not, over 10 people came up to me and my fiance asking about these overalls. Overalls are coming back, and LIVSN is leading the charge. They offer two types of materials, the durable flex canvas and the lightweight breathable Ecotrek. Most importantly, these technical bibs come with 11 functional pockets. Pens, phones, wallets, keys, beers, you name it. These LIVSN overalls have a place for them all. Trust me when I tell you, LIVSN's overalls are the outdoor apparel you didn't know you needed. And there's a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you can buy it, try it, and if you still don't like it, they will give you your money back. Right now, you can get 15% off at LIVSN by going to the link in the description below and using code TCM15 at checkout. That's the link in the description below and TCM15 for 15% off at checkout. Now you're sitting here and to someone without knowing you very well, or someone that lives, even someone knowing you and then like hanging out with you on a day-to-day basis, like there are moments where I forget that you are visually impaired. Like,
yeah.
And to the point where like, I don't even know, like I just expect you to be able to do things in a way like navigation or like hiking or whatever. It's almost like there's a point where you don't want to baby you. And there's also the point where it's like, sometimes I just straight up forget that like maybe Justin needs a little bit of help here. But I think that's a testament to how well adapted you've become to not only existing with your visual impairment, but appearing as if you don't have one.
Yeah.
So I guess talk to me about that skill and how it's kind of shaped like people's interaction with you, because there's like this weird balance between like, hey, I'm got a disability, like I might need some help here, versus this strive for like independence.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk to me about that kind of balance between these two things.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's tricky because at the School for the Blind, I found it so traumatizing because I just didn't want anything to do with it in the beginning, and I had like some low vision counselors and they were like, you're fighting your vision loss. You should flow with it like Tai Chi. And I'm like, what do you know? I'm like,
yeah, you can see.
Yeah. Well, this woman, and she was completely blind.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And she was like kind of being hard on me. And she is like, you hate this. I'm like, of course. What are you talking about? Like, it's not like it's more than just like being set back physically. Like it impacts everything, like a fully capable human, and all of a sudden you're like limited visually, and the whole world is designed around vision, more or less. And so, yeah, I hated it. And so when I went to the school for the blind, it was like everything magnified, and all those thoughts, all that like intrinsic unpacking of what it is that I'm trying to overcome emotionally and psychologically, just magnified in this place. And so I saw what that looked like there, and I didn't want anything to do with it. And so I was like, I'm just going to pretend and come up with all these coping mechanisms so that I can just blend in. Because I was dealing with childhood friends being like, oh, Justin, haha, he can't see anymore, and like all sorts of stuff. And so I was like, I'm just going to like kind of blend in, because I thought that was easier. Like if you're at a party with a bunch of friends, and everyone's watching TV, it was so much easier to just like pretend like I was watching TV, and no one really knew otherwise. And so I started doing that all the time, like just constantly. And so it turned into like, that's how I would ride bikes, and I would like go and play soccer with friends, and no one would know until they were like, the ball went out of bounds, and then they'd throw it back at me and it would just hit me in the face. And everyone's like, what? He's like normal, but he's weird, like something's off with that guy. Like he seems like he's not all there. But in those interactions, I never saw those people again. So no one really thought too much of it. And then I started getting into more outdoor stuff, and I just started using trekking poles like my canes and feeling the ground. And then eventually you kind of learn the flow of the nature. And maybe that sounds weird, but you know what I mean? It's someone who's like spends a lot of time outside, you can kind of tell, like they walk with like a little bit of more fluidity in the knees, like they're loose with their ankles and their knees and hips. And you just kind of like gracefully stumble through nature. And that's what I started doing. And the Lord blessed me with big feet at 5'9". I have a size 11 shoe. And so it was easier for me to just like, I use trekking poles all the time, but like, I don't always have to have them, but I just kind of like gracefully stumble. And maybe not always so gracefully, but I found that I could kind of just blend in and kind of just appear as though I'm like just like anybody else.
The time at the School of Blind, like, was it kind of like, did they frame it in a way where it was that kind of black and white, where it's like, you need to accept that you're blind and you can't do things, like
exactly. Literally.
But you're like, no, I want to do things, so I guess I'm going to pretend I'm not blind.
Yeah, or just like lying might not be the right way to say that, but like fooling yourself that you're way more capable than you might be. But then you find adaptations because you're always pushing it to the limit. I had day one at the School for the Blind. I was only there for a summer, like a summer camp where they just like a crash course, a condensed version of how to be blind. And the guy that was running the program sat everyone down, this whole classroom full of people that were all sorts of different ages, but new to vision loss. And they framed the beginning presentation with, you're blind, you're not going to be able to do whatever you want to do in life, deal with it. That was like, and I was just immediately like, I no way. I don't accept this. Like, I completely reject where you're coming from. And that probably started it all. Like, that was where I was like, no, I'm going to do everything that you think is impossible. And you're going to have a terrible and miserable life. And I might die doing the things that I want to do in life, but I'm going to do them, or I'm going to try. And so, yeah, I think I'm always trying to find the limit of what's possible with the vision I have left. And so, it looks like I'm pretty capable, but it's like, oftentimes I just genuinely have no idea like what I'm doing or where I am or how I got there or whatever. Like I used to rely on the people the wheelchair assist folks at the airports and stuff, where they they'll escort you around. And at some point I just got like so tired of waiting. And so I just like get off the airplane and follow the crowd follow the flow. And then eventually they'll like lead me to like a place where I can use deductive reasoning, kind of figure out where I am. But I also feel like because I do have peripheral vision left, even though I can't look around and see where I am because, wherever I point my eyes, it disappears. But I'm able to like orientate myself in space. So like I'm always questing into the unknown. I don't know where I am, but then I'm like, I'll figure it out from here. Like just proximity, kind of like figuring out what's immediately around me.
Yeah. I would imagine that gets exhausting after a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. You could say that again.
I'm sure there's moments where it's fun, I guess, a little bit like explorative in a way.
Yeah.
But yeah, after a while, especially when, airports are already so taxing and tiring to have to navigate it blind in the first place.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, it's a fun sense of adventure. I like adventure and like oftentimes it's a lot of that, but also when you're just like tired and you're just like trying to get to where you want to go and like fall into autopilot, it's like I can't just like casually walk to where I want to go or go do the things I want to do or have my own agency and independence to some degree.
Yeah. So there's like, how can I conceptualize this? So there's this element of this, doing the impossible almost as a defiance to your visual impairment in the first place. It's like a lack of acceptance of this portion of the identity that you have versus another way to look at it where like, I accept my visual impairment. I'm going to see what I can do with it anyway. Which version of that story do you feel like you embody the most?
I'm still trying to accept it, bro. I wish I could tell you that like I'm more comfortable with it now. It's been a while.
So a lot of it is just defiance.
Yeah. Probably. To some degree, I'm becoming way more comfortable with it, but I still fight it so tooth and nail that I feel like it probably leans more into defiance than it does like that low vision counts. Her name was Jedi. Like relying on what she said and flowing with it more like she described it as Tai Chi. I'm like not there.
Do you find power and agency in that emotion of like, I'm just going to use defiance, like the lack of acceptance, like, and to caveat that with the other side of the coin, like what about accepting it scares you? Like, where's the resistance? Do you feel like you would lose motivation and agency in this like frame of acceptance?
Yeah, it's interesting because I think that I've been able to find a lot of agency and still fight that, like leaning more into the vision loss and becoming more comfortable with it. I still find struggle with, I wouldn't say like not identifying with it, but rather just like the day-to-day functionality that reminds me of what it was like before I lost my sight. Like that, I think that's where like the biggest clash becomes, because like, I've been able to do a lot of amazing things just because of my, like very vividly because of my vision loss. Like I wouldn't be the climber I am. I wouldn't be the authority that I am within digital accessibility, or like the up and coming, like becoming a voice in the digital accessibility world and like mastering the understanding of how to advocate, how to interact with people with disabilities, how to like, there's so much that has come with that life experience. But then I find myself, I'm climbing and I'm like I can pretty gracefully climb V10 or like harder. And then we like go and climb some like pretty moderate 511s. And it's just because of the style that they are, I'm just like, I feel like a complete, new climber all of a sudden. And it doesn't have anything to do with the performance. Like, yeah, I'm competitive and it's frustrating to me because I have all this like skill and technique and power and strength and all these things there, but then it like collides with like the memory of like, if I could just see this, then I could just do it. If I could just get in the car and drive myself to wherever it is, I could just go. I wouldn't have to wait for someone. I wouldn't have to like get an Uber. I wouldn't like.
So you're constantly in battle with the version of yourself that you're no longer.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not so much maybe that I like hate the notion of like being identified as someone who's blind or visually impaired, because that's the reality. And like, I don't have any really problem with that. I feel like I've probably come pretty comfortable with that. It's that clash that really is the hardest for me.
And you're reminded of it so constantly.
All the time, especially because I'm like kind of in between total blindness and like what people would say is just legally blind, where like you could take off your glasses and you wouldn't be able to see for crap, but then you put your glasses on and you can drive, you can see across a room, you can look at a route and see the whole line, and you know that's just pretty simple. But because of where I'm nested in the world of vision loss, I have 1 foot in it and I'm 1 foot out of it, and that like mental battle with myself meets right in the middle. And especially someone you know, in their early 30s, I want to be like a lot more than having to always ask for help with driving and getting transportation and navigating. And obviously, you know, I'm like very capable, but there are certain situations where that does come into play a lot. Especially with like April, my soon-to-be wife, like, when we're doing long van trips, I can't help at all. She's driving all the time. I hate, not only do I hate that for her, and she understands, like, she's marrying me. She very well understands like the realities of living with someone with blindness, but I want to be more than that.
For sure. And it's like, yeah, I get that point, like, of frustration. And if you were to let go of that frustration, then it's like, then what? You're just sitting there just like, thanks, you know, like, this is sick, you know, thanks for being my driver.
Exactly.
And it's like, that's also not that great too. It's like, there's this point of frustration where you need to convey the fact that you want to be something that you can't be.
Yeah.
And that's tough.
Yeah. And it's funny because like the contrary to that is that I've become so humble, so grateful for my family, for my friends, for the people that like really get it. Like, so humbled, more than I've ever known, times 100. But it still doesn't like change the feelings. Like, there's still the clash. Yeah. Like, even though like on one side I'm thankful, humbled, honored that people would care enough about me and stand in on areas in which I find that I might need some assistance in certain areas or whatever. The other side of that is like, well, if I just relinquish that and let it go, then it doesn't mean that frustration's not there. It's like, I want to let it go, but I just, for some reason, it's within my own self. I just somehow haven't been able to fully like just relinquish that grip, especially because I had so much I was excited about, like already entrepreneurial minded. I already had my own company. My parents bought us a car. Like, I knew what I wanted. I had a direction. And you wipe the slate clean, and then it's like starting over all over again. And there's a part of starting over where it just, you like can't really change the new reality.
It's not a clean slate.
No, it's like a modified slate.
Yeah, with a handicap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I would like to say that I'm a lot more, I mean, I am a lot more mature in the sense that I'm more comfortable with it, but I still struggle with it, which is, I don't know, maybe it's like kind of sad to some degree because it's been like over 17 years, but I don't know. Maybe it's just because it's not only coupled with that reality, but it's coupled with like the abilities that I had. Like I've always been the best at everything that I've done. And it's not the fact that I'm the best and I'm like, yeah, everybody, like I'm better than you. It's like when I ride a bike, when I play a video game, when I climb, I want to be better than I was the day before, all with everything that I did. And so because of that, I've always been inclined to be good at anything I put my hands to. And so it's been a blessing because I have that personality. And so I've been able to do a lot despite vision loss, but it's also that reflection of like what could have been. And I'm always fighting that, what could have been.
How good could I have been?
Yeah, exactly.
What kind of climber could I be?
Yeah.
Yeah. What kind of businesses could I run?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's tough, man.
Yeah. So I think I don't know, it probably will be that way for a very, very long time.
Yeah. I could see that. Especially now, it seems like, your life is definitely like I think a lot of us are in like this transitionary state. I think life is very transitionary in general, but maybe like, I don't know, maybe there's a certain point down the line where you'll like be like, I don't know, I fucking made it, you know, like I'm like so stoked with everything I've done and like everything was meant for a reason.
Well, yeah, I think, I mean, you're onto something. Not everything happens for a reason, but all things that do happen can be used to your advantage, or rather everything that does happen to you shapes who you become. And it's up to you for that to be good or bad. Yeah.
It's like, we aren't our circumstances. It's how we react to our circumstances that define us.
Yeah, exactly.
Similar.
So, I mean, I do realize that all the things that the direction that I've been put, the direction that I'm walking, despite something happened to me and putting me on a new direction, all that is for a good outcome at this point.
Mm-hmm. It's almost like your tenacity is like, it's like fused with the frustration in a way.
Yeah, it's almost like the frustration's helpful to some degree.
Yeah, it's like the frustration comes with this personality trait of being tenacious and like always striving to be better. It's like, well, yeah, of course I'm going to be frustrated because this fucking handicap is pissing me off. You know, like I wish I could do something different, but I can't. But yeah, it's cool that you still are moving forward and you're still like, you are, doing the best that you can. And you've been super successful up to this point. Like, yeah, like got a great job, got a partner that you're going to commit your life to. Like, I think those are things that even people without any sort of handicap struggle with sometimes. So yeah, I commend you on that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a blessing. It's been hard to integrate into like being around a ton of people that are also disabled to some degree. Cause I love being in like the paraclimbing community. I like absolutely love all those people. My whole world got shook the first time I was able to be around everybody, and we all have different disabilities that we're dealing with, and it's cool to see their tenacity as well, and it mirrors mine, and we're all like a part of the GIMP squad, so to say, and I just love all those people to death. But it like invokes that same sort of like, I mean, I'll just straight up say it. It invokes the hatred for myself in those environments. And so then it's like I'm staring at that version of myself again. And so it's like I can like be in that space for a while, and then I have to retreat. And I have to like, because the whole time I'm around that community, it's just nothing but amazing. And it's just like the richness of hearing about other people's experience, or not even hearing about other people's experiences, just like all being together. Like, who cares that we're all disabled? But the thing that brings us together is the fact that we're all like working through these different situations in life. But then the whole time that I'm, in that community, I have like that version of myself that kind of keeps showing up. And
what version?
Just like reminding myself that like, I might be a completely different version of myself.
You keep getting reminded of the person you could have been.
Yeah.
By seeing people that are also disabled, because you also see all the people that they could have been, or is that a topic that everybody talks about?
No, it's not something that everybody talks about, and it's not something that I think everybody sees as though it's something that they could have been also. I think maybe everybody deals with that to some degree individually, but it's not even the fact that I'm around those people that makes me feel, or it's not them that makes me feel this way. It's just the reality that like I am reminded because I'm in a paraclimbing space, or I'm in a space that is very centric on the this disability thing. Yeah, for sure. And I hate that about myself. Like I've always been prone to like familial depression and anxiety to a very extreme degree. And so when I'm around large groups of people in general, I like shy away from it. I'm like, this is just a lot. But especially like in competitions where everything is very specifically focused on like disability, again, it kind of comes with that blessing and a curse. It's like, yeah, I'm here because I'm a disabled, but also I'm here because I'm disabled. And it's incredible. And again, like, don't get me wrong, like that's one of the best parts about that community is we're all like overcoming something, or, we can just unite and love each other for where we're at. And there's no like weirdness about like, oh, that's a disabled person, I should like be careful, like gotta watch what I say, or gotta like treat them differently or whatever. It's like, dude, the disability jokes are amazing. The camaraderie and like the community and the uplifting that you get from that is awesome. But it just, for whatever reason with myself, I don't know, I've just been struggling with that.
It seems like there's a way, almost like this chameleon thing, where when you're not surrounded by that group, you feel less disabled in a way. Is that true? When you're surrounded by people with sight and people aren't treating you as disabled, people are just we're just all hanging out, friends, stand up paddleboarding, we're climbing. It's just kind of like, it's a vibe. It's not about the disability. Do you find more comfort and peace and kind of like a sense of identity in those moments?
Yeah, maybe that's, yeah. I think it's just intense for me. Yeah, because it's not like I feel more disabled in those environments. Like when I go to there's a conference that happens in Anaheim. It's a massive disability conference, and they have like all the newest tech. And there's just blind people everywhere, and it's so cool. Like you just hear all the canes clicking around, and people are like yelling across the halls, like, Jake, where are you? And you hear the response from across the room, like, I'm over here, Yeah. And I love that. Like, it's so fun. But also like, maybe it's just because it like doesn't magnify it, that like being in the spaces that you're describing, where it's just like, oh yeah, that's Justin, he's blind, but like whatever.
He's part of the crew.
It's it's not really like it's magnified to the same degree.
Yeah. On that note, like I think from the very beginning of this question, it's like the fact that people forget, or forget that you're blind in these situations that I'm talking about, and especially all the ones we've done. Like, in those situations, would you like, do you appreciate more like awareness to your visual impairment, to the point where it's like someone's able to consciously like, you know, subtly help you out in a situation or communicate something? Like, do you find value in that, or would you rather like the group just kind of like not draw attention to it in any way? Is there a balance?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's different for every situation. Like, you do really well when we're out hiking, and when, like, you know, you're just describing like what's around us, and if there's like a potential hazardous drop off or something, you're just like, hey, so, you know, just so you know, like, stay right behind me. There's like a death fall, you know, here. Like, it becomes more narrowed in those situations. And I know, you know, that like it happens frequently where there's like a situation in which there's peril involved, and then it becomes more focused, and you jump to like, I know that my guy needs like some more focused assistance in this situation. But the fact that like it's not, I'm just like any other person in the group.
Yeah. Like, I'll still throw cans at you.
Yeah.
Like, here's a drink, Justin, catch.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it might hit me, but like, you know, I'm going to try, you know. It's like that. I think it shouldn't be like some sort of, highlighted thing, so to say. I mean, I've never talked about that kind of thing before. And I think I hope that it doesn't come off this way, but I feel like in the paraclimbing community, I've like seemed distant. And I don't like the fact that I've seemed distant. Like, it bothers me that like I probably come off as that I'm elusive. And it's not that I'm like thinking I'm better than anybody else. It's not.
I mean, just because you have a disability doesn't mean you necessarily need to be a part of a certain community. I don't like, just because you all have one thing in common doesn't mean you have everything in common, right? Like, I don't, this is a terrible example because it's not the same thing at all, but I'm going to use it anyway, just for almost humor at this point. But like, I lost my left testicle. I don't like go to social groups and like talk to dudes that are missing nuts, you know, like, I definitely like that community kind of like freaks me out a little bit. Like, the brush up I've had with that community has been something I don't wish to engage in. And so it's like I said, not the same thing, but maybe there's something there. Maybe it's like, you don't have, just because you are or have something doesn't mean you need to like vibe with everyone in that community.
Well, and it's funny because I do way better in like on individual, positions that I do, like in like the gatherings of like large groups of people.
It's hard, man. Large groups are tough. It's always very superficial. It's really hard to get anything deep or meaningful out of it. At least for me, I'm definitely much more of like a intimate 2 or 3 people. And usually even if it gets to like 5 or 6, I'll find like one person to like have a conversation with, you know, and like, I'll end up probably talking to them like the whole night. And they're like, you didn't hang out with anybody. It's like, well, I had a great time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I've definitely been labeled sometimes. People are like, I don't know. I think I just don't engage with people sometimes. Mm-hmm. It takes me a long time to like get to know people. Yeah. And maybe that's a bad personal skill because I don't do the work to like find out, but yeah. I don't know.
Are you an extrovert though? You don't come off as though you're an extrovert. I think you're, from a outside perspective, you seem like an extroverted introvert.
I am a introvert with a skill of being extroverted when I need to be.
Yeah.
Like, it's a skill. It's not innate.
But it's draining for you.
With the wrong people. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But you don't recharge your batteries from people.
No.
Yeah.
Definitely not.
For sure. Yeah, I'm exactly that way. I need to like dip my feet in the water and then like pull back and like really recharge my batteries, and then I can like go back in. Yeah.
It's always just been like a few good friends, or like one good friend at a time. And it's like that kind of cycles through, or I've never been one to have like a very huge social network. I mean, Instagram has been exhausting with the amount of people that I like communicate with on a daily basis. But it's been cool. It's been cool to like meet people in that way, but that's perfect. It's like very, It's like at an arm's reach, right?
Well, I think that suits like more or less how I enjoy climbing because I'm introverted and I like the subtleties of life, and I like getting ingrained into the details. Going out climbing with a very small crew is like my favorite thing ever. It's like how I get my batteries recharged, by going out in nature and interacting with rock. And yeah, I have like a couple of people around me, but it's not like we're there to accomplish something. We're there to climb. We're there to try hard. We're there to like break down the intricacies of it all. And just being out there in nature with like one or two. I mean, obviously I climb in big groups. I don't mind that at all, but really, like, I do my best when it's like a small crew that are dedicated to our craft and what we're doing.
This episode is brought to you by Hot Chili's Performance Apparel. Hot Chili's specializes in performance base layers that are soft, flexible, and super comfortable. And with winter right around the corner, it's time for you to start thinking about your base layers. Hot Chili's base layers strike the perfect balance between warmth, comfort, and flexibility. Made from an innovative fabric blend of polyester and spandex, they are designed to feel buttery soft like cotton, but provide all the benefits of performance material. Most importantly, their relaxed fit 4-way stretch makes Hot Chili's base layers ideal to wear every day. Plus, they are extremely breathable and moisture wicking. And there's a 60-day money-back guarantee, so you can buy it, try it, and if you still don't like it, they will give you your money back. Right now, you can get 15% off at Hot Chili's by going to the link in the description below and using TCM15 at checkout. That's hotchilis.com/TCM15 and TCM15 for 15% off at checkout. Yeah. Let's talk about climbing.
Yeah, climbing.
Yeah. What, just again, with this kind of like painting the picture of your visual impairment, like what is the experience of climbing like for you? Like, how do you approach it? What is it like on the wall? Like, how do you break down routes? Like, what is your approach to the sport?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a funny time to talk about it because I just had this like massive expression of this whole thing at a crag up at Mount Charleston where I was climbing, and I had an idea that I would like the route based on what my friend was telling me and a little bit of the research that I had done. But, it's so hard to like get an idea of if you're going to enjoy something from a video. And I'm like zooming in really far on the video, trying to like see what the hand positions are like and see what the route's going to be like. But videos are so flat. It doesn't like give you an idea of like how overhung it is or the angles that you're climbing in or what the positions are like. Like, yeah, you can learn a lot about like how the movement's going to work. But it wasn't until I got on the route and I started like doing the moves and like feeling all the different holds and being in the positions and finding the clipping positions and all these things. I got to the anchor after my discovery burn where I'm like, slowly memorizing it and putting the pieces of the puzzle together, that I was lowering and I was like, I actually like this route, So yeah, for me, I like big shapes, things that are like aesthetically pleasing, but I can't really look at something based on the line unless it's like hyper obvious. It really comes down to like geometry. Geometric shapes are really pleasing, and those types of things just make me want to interact with them and climb them. But it really is mostly the movement that did it for me, especially getting into climbing and going to a gym that was like pretty like, I don't know, pretty sketchy kind of. Like the gym was very small. It was like an old diving school, and it had like, it basically looked like someone's home woody. And you really had to like climbing to go there because it was not pretty and like pretty sketchy. And we would boulder on things that were no more than like 10 feet tall because that was just how tall it had to be at that gym. And so I fell in love with the movement because not only was it not beautiful at the gym, but it was unrelated. My enjoyment of it was unrelated to what I was looking at, and so I really fell in love with how it felt to be in these positions and feel strong, because I was always really inclined to strength-based activities.
Were you like pretty fit before you started climbing?
Yeah. So I was riding BMX, and then my younger brother Josiah, we would do all these like intense powerlifting things. We got really obsessed with this gym in Salt Lake called Jim Jones, where they would train like all the Spartans in the 300 movie. They would train alpinists and people that were doing these big pushes and expeditions and things. And we would find all their workout plans and we would do them. And it was just heinous stuff, just brutal workouts. And suffering was very much a part of that. It was like, how miserable can we make this on top of the fact that we're lifting weights? So we did all that stuff. And when I started climbing, we had already been doing outdoorsy stuff like backpacking and whatever. And that was great. But I was like, well, I remember like my friend worked at the climbing gym, so we'll go in and we'll try climbing, and very quickly it was obvious, like the movement was just impeccable. It was so fun, and it was something that was like in that detail, it was a lot more interesting. And so I very quickly fell in love with the movement of climbing, and so it kind of relates very, or it's very much how I climb outside. Like something could be really beautiful, but if the movement's not that enjoyable to me, it's like, like whatever.
But your process for actually climbing is like you have to memorize the holds and where they are from the ground up, essentially. And you're building this mental map, and you piece it all together, you memorize it, and then you execute these movements neurologically. And accurately on the way up. And you're leaning on your physical fitness to be able to hold yourselves in these positions, to give yourself more time to find the next hold or to make mistakes in body positions in order to get up the wall. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly.
And how important is like having a sight guide for your climbing?
Yeah. I mean, the sight guide is pretty dang important, I would say. Like, I mean, I guess I sound hesitant when I say that because in some areas I don't always need a sight guide. Let's say like sometimes I'll hike a ladder out with me, and I'm like feeling around for all the different holds and so on. And I'm like, it's not like I'm just like finding the chalky stuff. It's like my hands are sweeping over the whole boulder surface, like the whole face of it. Cause I don't want to miss something. I've learned from experience that I will miss things, Yeah. And so in order to not miss things, I like feel everything and my fingers run over every surface of the rock, making sure that I don't miss something. Cause like at the climbing gym, for example, I'm like not using a hold that makes the climb V5. And I'm like doing this like really messed up V8 method. And someone's like, why aren't you using that? And I'm like, oh,
didn't know it was there.
I didn't know. Yeah, exactly.
So the sight guide isn't necessary, but it makes the process way faster.
So much faster and like more, just faster, a lot easier. Efficient. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And your progress seemed pretty quick. I read that you got your first V11 within the first 3 years. It's pretty fast.
Yeah, I think it comes with that strength that I had developed prior to climbing.
Yeah.
I just really like being strong. It just feels good. I'm sure, you can relate. You like to do weightlifting and big pushes ground up and doing things in a day and stuff. Like it just feels awesome.
It does.
But also it turns out that it's like really advantageous when you're dealing with a vision loss because you need to stay in those positions for a long time, like what you're saying. And you need to be able to have enough in the tank to like lock off every single move and feel around. I'm learning to like taper that. Because the vanguard of my climbing ability can't just be like brute strength and DDoSing my way through everything. It's like, you pigeonhole yourself into not actually excelling as a climber.
I think it also lends to a very specific style.
Yeah.
which is fine. I would be leaning into it as well.
For sure. And you definitely want to lean into the things that you enjoy, obviously, because like you're not just going to do like I call it eating your vegetables, all the things that you're bad at, you don't just want to do that all the time. Otherwise you'd hate what you do.
Yeah. I don't like overhung climbing. I don't do it very much.
But you do it sometimes.
Sometimes. Yeah.
And it's like eating your vegetables. I know this is going to make me better. But you don't want to always do that. I tell people that I like working on the things that I'm bad at when I'm in a good mood. And then when I'm not in the best mood, I only want to do the things that I'm good at.
That's smart.
But I'm generally in a good mood. So like I'm like pretty down to try, like, you and I will go climb some like really thin techie vert. Yeah. And it just beats my ass. It's so hard. Like yesterday when we were climbing, I got over a bulge, and I was like, I don't know where my bolts are. And April's like, I can't see them from down here, and I'm like, cool. I don't know where this is going to be, but I'll just keep going up, I guess. And the more I'm going, the more I'm like, I hope it shows up, and I'm like, I'll stop and I'll like move my hands around, and I'll like, I hit the bolt and I'm like, yeah, like this is awesome. And those moments actually are pretty fun, where it's just like a surprise, like, oh, I'm like pretty run out. I accidentally found the bolt, so I'm going to clip this in and be like, nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely do way, way better on like steep stuff. Basically, if it's like 30 degrees or 90 degrees, I do very well. When it becomes like techie vert, yeah, it's like shockingly how precipitously my performance drops off.
Yeah. It's cool that you still go out and do it sometimes.
I do it a lot. Most of my friends like techie vert around here.
Yeah.
But it's good,
You, it seems like, so you memorize a route, you then ultimately, like a lot of us get to like look at the route from the ground, and we like practice in our mind these moves, and we kind of like visualize that in a way. It seems like the visualization part of that experience for you is pretty paramount. Yeah. And I think that, you brought this up before, is I think the key example of this is Adam Ondra's film with Silence. He's like on his back on the ground, just like screaming, like doing toe to finger matches and stuff.
Yeah. And his handler or his, physio, his coach was like pushing his limbs into the positions and stuff. Yeah.
Like how, I think for like, I guess explain how important and like how you utilize visualization, and then like expand that to like how maybe we all as climbers who have sight could maybe use visualization more.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah, it's cool. I taught a series of clinics throughout the US called the Art of Visualization Through Blindness. And we were unpacking that exact concept. Like, even though you don't have vision, what is the visualization process like? And so it is involved with taking and hearing information that people tell you. And then also, if we have the luxury of someone like moving our hands into positions and like tapping on the feet and describing something very well from the ground, is probably the best like prep to hop on a route. Like this project that I was working on at Charleston, my climbing partner was like giving me as much information as he could for the first bolt, and then I would climb to the first bolt and clip in, and then he'd tell me the information between the first and the second, and I would do that, and maybe it was a little off, and I would whip, and I would be like, okay, well, I don't think it was like that, but maybe it was, let's work on it a little bit differently. And we did that all the way up, and I remember him, he nailed the penultimate bolt to the anchor. And he walked me through it so well before I had even tried it, that when I pulled, like I was in a knee bar, and I pulled out of the knee bar and pulled onto the wall and did it just like he said. And I was like, that was sick. And it was because I was retaining all of that information as he was saying it, I'm like building in my mind what he's describing, but it's related to movement. It's not just based on what I'm looking at and knowing that my body should be holding onto that handhold and this handhold and my foot will be there and so on. Based on my experience with vision loss, it's all connected to how I feel on the wall. So those feelings of what he's saying is so intrinsically connected to that feeling of movement that I'm able to visualize that movement pattern rather than just looking at it and then imagining myself in that position, if that makes sense.
I think what you're trying to what you're describing is like building a sense of familiarity so that when you're there, you're like, I've been here before.
Yeah, exactly. But I know like excellent climbers do this anyway, but I think it's based more on what they're looking at, maybe. Anyway, lowered back down, and I could walk you through the whole route right now after climbing it. And I've only put 1 day in on that thing. And so the tactic in these clinics that I was teaching is all that wrapped into like, you know, a couple hours in a gym, or like at the International Climbers Festival. We were lucky enough to do it in Lander, but the idea is retain as much information as you can from the person that's giving you the beta from the ground. Now with the clinic, we used a blindfold. So the person was blindfolded and they got to take turns picking different routes. And so someone would stand in as the site guide and someone would be the blindfolded climber. And so they would describe the route in as much detail as they could. And then when the person would get on the wall, they would try it. And the person would then start guiding them through this. And the whole idea was that you were building that imagery in your mind of what that person's saying, and then putting yourself into that position in your mind and creating that sense of familiarity that you're describing. And so you're building this like mental roadmap of what's to come, even though you've never climbed it before.
I feel like that would hinge heavily on the skill of the person trying to describe the route for you.
It also hinges on the skill set of the climber as well, though, I would say. Because like, for example, my climbing partner in competition, Matt Frederick, he climbs the same V grades, sport grades that I do. And he's the sharpest side guide I've ever had. And then like April, for example, is not climbing at that level, but she just gives me all the information. And then I know what to pick based on the position that I find myself in. So yeah, it's a little bit of both. Like you can get away with a lot as a newer site guide if you're just like giving all the information, but it has to be, it can't just be random. You have to like give people hand coordinates and then give people foot coordinates and then not confuse them by talking about things that are not relevant to the position that the athlete is in. Or if it's on the ground, you have to kind of layer it. I've found layering that information is really helpful. So you can talk about the whole thing, like just talk about the whole thing and then start getting into more like nuanced.
So you got like a macro and a micro.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so the clinics kind of went into that whole process, and then we went into how this is applicable in day-to-day life and how you could use this visualization technique in work, how you can use it in your day-to-day life, or planning your week, your month, your year, and so on.
What are some examples of that?
So let's say for work, the idea was that let's say you're writing a bunch of documentation for a presentation that you have to give, and you might be really nervous about what's to come. You don't know what to expect as far as like how you're going to handle certain questions, how you're going to present certain information for an audience that you don't know. So you just prepare. You just like imagine that you're about to come up to a project. Someone's giving you a bunch of information, rather instead of someone giving you a bunch of information about a route on a wall, you're giving yourself that information on a particular presentation that you're going to give, and you're giving yourself all the different options. But there is also the best path. But because you've given yourself so many options and you're visualizing yourself presenting this information, you're visualizing all the different outcomes and what the different questions might be, you're kind of like setting yourself up for success by creating that sense of familiarity in the moment. And so I think some people found that it was, I think everyone's got like a use case that we're experiencing those clinics, because everyone's, got the presentation thing, I guess, was just like one example. Yeah. But, of course, everybody's got different things that they're working with on a day-to-day basis.
For sure. I really like the idea of the familiarity. I find that a lot with I think it's attachment to fear as well. Yeah. I think that a lot of fear is surrounded by the unknown. Especially in climbing, when you're on-siting a route, you don't know what's coming, especially you haven't done a lot of the beta. And so there's this fear that can build up. But if you have beta, you have a bunch of information, you've used that information to build a sense of familiarity through visualization of this route. When you're there for the first time, you don't actually feel like you feel like you've been there before.
Yeah.
And I think there's huge power in that. And I think just like your example with the presentation, I think that in our lives, we can do that all the time. I can't tell you how many times I will just sit in the shower and visualize my future, the day, or even weeks in advance, months in advance. What happens if this happens? What could happen if this happens? And you're painting this picture of what could happen, or you're expecting some sort of conversation to happen with somebody, and you're visualizing what that could be like, so that when you're actually sitting down and doing it, you don't have that visceral feeling of uncomfortableness or fear, because in a way you've already done it. You've been there before.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I think you and I had a conversation maybe a couple of months ago about what does scorched earth look like for you? What if it all goes tits up, Yeah. And it's good to, I think it's really valuable. Just like when we're climbing, we oftentimes, depends on where you are in your journey of your lead head or whatever, but fear is always present, right? Even for the most elite, a bolt could rip out of the wall, or a wire could break on your piece of pro, or whatever it might be. And so being able to be comfortable and familiarize yourself with those really scary moments and that fear, and really leaning into that fear, I think it should be more common practice, because it gives you the understanding that if it does all go wrong, that's the worst case scenario. And if that does happen, I'll be prepared for it, because
at least mentally.
Yeah.
Actually, I think a great example of this was, I just interviewed Michael Vale and Tanner Wanish, and they had a crazy situation where they both were falling to their deaths, and they were able to self-arrest. Crazy story. But what Tanner had said is he spends so much time in these no-fall zone places where a single mishap would kill him, that, in that situation, so many of us would just be gripped, so fearful, unable to concentrate, unable to execute, unable to make the decisions that would keep us alive in those situations. And he said his antidote, his remedy to that is exactly what we're talking about. He literally would visualize himself falling to his death all the time to familiarize himself with that visceral experience, so that when he's in those situations, when he's in those moments where that is potentially a reality, that visceral fear that overtakes your nervous system is numbed, because you've built that fake familiarity with that experience already.
Is it fake? Do you think?
I mean, I guess fake we're just talking about the human mind now. Like, it hasn't happened, so it's not technically real.
When we go to sleep and we dream, none of that's real, but it
has an effect on us.
Precisely.
And I mean, fuck, dude, is consciousness real? Is this real? You know, like we can go there. We can go there.
But I do think that like it's more real than we think, because it's invoking those emotions. And I know this was pretty, I don't remember, it was on a Joe Rogan podcast or something like this, where they were talking about like, if you're always in a bad mood, you're always focusing on the things that are wrong. If you just focus on the things that are good and not the things that are wrong, you'll be in a good mood all the time. Even if those things that are going wrong are not actually happened. Like, you're making yourself anxious and depressed and nervous and whatever about things that haven't even happened. Like, why are you focusing on that stuff? But your body doesn't know that. Your body's having that reaction.
As if it's actually happening.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that's why like these visualization drills were so powerful, and things that that's why I've been able to excel the way that I have, because it is way more than just simple 2D understanding of where I'll be on the wall at that moment, if I'm like imagining myself in the crux from a video. But I do know that we use videos to like increase our flash odds. But
yeah, I think you could also expand that into like even career choices or someone you want to become, like big life goals. I think I've definitely heard this before, where it's like, paint the picture of who that is now and like become that person in your brain. And then you will like manifest that in reality, but you have to be here first. You've got to be that person in your mind first before you can make that happen. I think a lot of people probably search for external validation for who they want to be first.
Yeah, it's deep, bro. Well, the reason I say that is because, like, I think that's a part of why I feel like I'm still trying to unpack, what direction I want to go. Because after the vision loss and then finding climbing, I just got so wrapped up into climbing that nothing else mattered. I just was like putting a Band-Aid on all that. Like, climbing became the ultimate distraction. And I think that's what's so amazing about climbing is it creates space to the degree that you're able to heal to some degree, yes. But it doesn't take away the fact that you're not addressing the root cause of what could be creating baggage for you. You're just distracting it all with climbing. And climbing is incredible in that sense that you do find some healing with outdoors, passion, focus, community, all the benefits that we all know and love about rock climbing. But it's also potentially one of the biggest distractors and could be potentially harmful when done in extreme volume. Like dirtbag lifestyle, for example. I've done it. I love it. Is it sustainable if you want more out of life? I struggle to think that could be the case. Because, even some climbing mentors of mine will say, like, yeah, I wish I would have gotten my shit together sooner. I was just climbing. I just love climbing. And those rock climbers that have done dirtbag existence, and then they've gotten so good at climbing, or they just so happen to fall into a job that was related to rock climbing or whatever, they were able to like make something out of it. And that's beautiful and incredible. I also know so many rock climbers that have just distracted themselves for so long, and they got so caught up in rock climbing that they don't really have a whole lot to show now. And that scares me.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't want to be in that space.
It's kind of like joining the Air Force and trying to become a fighter pilot, and it's an all-end game. It's like you either make it or you don't, and only like 0.1% of the people make it to that end goal. I'd say it's similar with climbing. It's like even with other skills, it's hard to make a living climbing. And if you're just going to dedicate decades to climbing, Yeah, it's a slippery slope. And then you also end up running into issues where like your ego is attached to your performance, your identity is attached to your performance. And when things aren't going well, you get injured or whatever they may be, like all of a sudden this bubble that you've built bursts and we have nothing left to fall down onto. No relationships, no job, no other skills that you've been, it takes time to develop as an adult, these skills that make you professionally sound, or these skills we have to develop as adults take time. You can't just like, oh, I guess I climbed for 20 years. Let me start something else. It's like, you're 20 years behind, bro. So no, it's a reality. And I think it's, like you said, it's the allure of climbing every day is definitely glorified. And I fell victim to it as well. Luckily, my injury just like snapped me out of it real quick. It was just like, no, like we need to shift focus here. You gotta work on some other stuff. And I was so grateful. So grateful. Like,
when it doesn't mean that you need to like cultivate some sort of career. Like, I think that if I say that with the knowing in my heart that if you're so passionate about it and that's what brings you happiness and you're satisfied with having that existence for the rest of your life, that's beautiful. But if you're the type of person that knows in the back of your mind you might be distracting yourself, but you just keep doing it, and then 10 years go by and you're like, dude, I've just been climbing like this whole time. And now I don't, like, now it's kind of serious. Like now I need a job, or I would love to buy a house or whatever. Then it's like the kind of realization hits you where you're like, oh dude, I gotta figure it out,
What was that transition like for you?
Van life.
You kind of like, professional athlete, sponsored athlete. Now you've got like a full-time job.
Yeah.
Seems like you've gone through kind of a bit of a transition in that realm.
Yeah. I mean, it was like feeling pretty aimless for many years, unpacking blindness, to climbing, not really caring what the outcome of climbing was, but I loved climbing. So that's what I'm just going to do from now on. I'm a climber. And then falling into the lane of like making good money as a rock climber, but good money as a rock climber is like not great. You know what I mean? Unless you're like the Honolds or the Magoses or the Andras or the Schuberts, or, I know good money can be made in climbing, but you have to be like the 1% of the 1%. And so that's pretty challenging. And I knew that I wanted more before I started rock climbing, but rock climbing became the thing that kind of put me on that trajectory towards being a functioning member of society, towards like being, a family man, towards all these ideas I had in my mind of what I thought my life would be like in the future. But it was still aimless to some degree. And so it didn't really hit me. Well, I guess it kind of never really hit me. It kind of just fell into my lap, and I just was like, oh, this is the thing I need to do. This is perfect. Okay. So we were living in our van. It was unbuilt, traveling around the country in our van and climbing full time, me and my fiance. And we were struggling to build this van while you live in it. Come to find out, it's a lot harder to build a van when you're living in it than it is when it's parked in front of your driveway and you have the luxury of like living somewhere else. So anyway, we ended up homeless, kind of living in this VW shop in this trailer that was also under construction. And we ran out of money, and we were pretty close to finishing the van, but we were kind of stuck. And so I was just thinking, well, yeah, I guess I will just start over here in Costa Mesa, California. There was a specialized shop down the street, and I was working for that company before we set off for van life. And I was like, I guess we'll just start over here. But then a friend introduced me to my now boss, and it was a startup in digital accessibility, a tech company. And it all just kind of fell into place. And then we moved into our house in Las Vegas, and I kind of realized oh, this is the path that I need to be on, because I wasn't really going anywhere with rock climbing. Not that I wasn't actually progressing as an athlete, and I had opportunity, and there was a path that was going that way, but it was also riddled with the changing of what climbing and making money looked like. It was very quickly becoming very TikTok-y, very short form content. The athletes need to be writers, photographers, videographers, social media experts, and an athlete. And it was just a lot different than when I had first started. And so being able to work have a career and climb ended up being more holistic than I had expected. It was a chance to work on my personal life and my career and fulfill those areas in my life that were nagging me as a climber, but I was just suppressing. But I was still having a good time with climbing. That suppression was really enjoyable. But it really made me realize that I was like not filling those gaps in those parts of my life. And then I was able to start viewing rock climbing in an entirely different way, in a way where I was like, I'm actually enjoying climbing for climbing's sake. I literally said that to April the other day. Like, when I go climbing, I'm going climbing because I love climbing, not because I like have to send this because it relies on like an article that's being written about me, or there's like a film that someone's making about me or whatever. And I love that pressure, but when it's all the time, a lot of athletes get burned out. But I still love, being a supported athlete, and I love being able to tell my story and be a champion for accessibility and, talk about things like visualization and all those things that come with it. It's such a rich experience, and I'm really thankful for the career I have in rock climbing. And I'm really proud of the brands that, believe in me enough to, support me through that journey. And I've been able to do a lot in that world. And so now that I have a career that also, somehow aligns with what I'm doing, and rock climbing is really awesome. And aligning by that, I mean, I've been able to champion accessibility for a long time and not really knowing how to fix the problem. And now I work in digital accessibility. I'm actually making the world more accessible for those that are using screen readers or that just have a challenging time using the internet, whatever, or the digital world in whatever way, shape, or form they might use a different assistive technology.
Yeah. No, it's cool. It's cool to see what you've done. And it's like, I can imagine it being, I don't know, kind of challenging to find like a career that's like high paying. It's got to be a pretty niche situation for your visual impairment, right? Like the career options that you have, I would say, are pretty, like, am I wrong in that assumption?
Maybe only slightly, but like not, I mean, like you're right in the sense that like someone that's blind is not going to be able to be a trash collector. You wouldn't want someone like that's blind driving a trash truck trying to pick your cans up. That might not end very well.
But the accessibility that you are currently, a part of is good enough to the point where you're functional enough to do most jobs that are online.
Yeah, for sure. With assistive technology. Yeah. And that's what's so cool about the world that this is the best time in human history to be alive in that sense. Like the things that you might have thought were impossible for someone with a whatever type of disability, there's always, not always, most of the time there's some piece of tech that would allow them to excel in whatever that career might be.
That's really cool that you're, like you said, championing that movement as someone like yourself, making the world more accessible for everybody else.
Yeah, because I actually I did this conference in Washington D.C. at the International Association of Privacy Professionals. It's a mouthful, but it's like a legislative conference where a lot of privacy niche industries or privacy and security as a whole all get brought up. And so we were there at that conference, and I spoke there. And one of the talking points I used was, I've done all these things in climbing while blind, and I never hit any roadblocks. And then there's the internet. And we call them blockers and digital accessibility, where if you're using a screen reader and you're going through your card and you're adding all these things to your card and you enter all your information, and then the screen reader can't find the checkout button on the website, and so you just can't ever press checkout. It just, you spent a long time doing all this shopping, and then you get to the point where you're just trying to press checkout, and it just you'll never find it, and it's impossible. And so there's literally no workaround. And so those are the types of things that we fix. And we don't just fix things for blindness, but we fix things to a certain standard. Yeah, it's really cool.
Let's talk about the Olympics.
Oh, the Olympics.
Let's talk about the Olympics. So part of all this like kind of change and stuff that you've gone through, I think it seemed like a carrot, at least, that you were kind of gunning for was the 2028 Olympics. And something changed recently, and I don't think you get to participate now. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Talk to me about that.
Yeah. I started as an outdoor climber, and I achieved, one of the biggest goals that I could achieve was winning a world championship. That was really cool. And I took some years off of competition climbing and focused solely on outdoor climbing, knowing that the Olympics could be in the future. It was always a little bit dicey who was going to be in the Paralympics for the first time. But they ended up deciding to go with men's B1, which is total blindness, and women's B2. And I'm B2, but I'm not women's B2.
Weird. So the gender, they even made it a selection between men and women. They let women B2, but not men.
Yeah.
Was there a reason, a justification? Did you understand any clarity on that?
The federations are always so bizarre. I don't understand the politics behind a lot of it, but my understanding of what I think happened is there wasn't enough representation for men's B categories as a whole for B2 and 3. And so they decided to go with B1. But I don't know.
So there wasn't enough climbers in B2 to justify giving them their own group?
I think that's what happened.
And they can't merge you all.
Right.
Because there's too much of a disparity between your guys' experience.
Yeah. They used to do aggregation, but I guess for the Olympics they decided not to. Like they had done away with it for some of the World Cups in the past. So I guess based on that, they decided no aggregation, only men's B1, and then they decided to do women's B2 because for the same reasons, I don't think there was enough women's B1 and not enough women's B3.
Oh, so it's women's B2 only.
Yeah.
Interesting. It's time for a sex change, bro. Everybody's doing it.
I know. I should just identify as a woman and I'll be good to go.
You'd hit the headlines for sure.
Oh, for sure. That'd be great.
Yeah. Now, how did you, so it seemed like that was something you were kind of psyched about, right?
Yeah, big time. Yeah, it was huge. It was actually like pretty devastating for me.
Yeah. So like how did you process that? And like now what? Kind of like how has that changed your perspective on training and climbing in general? Like what are you working for?
Well, I think, I don't know. I have a bunch of different thoughts about like the representation of athletes in a exhibition run for the Olympics, because that's more or less in the beginning of climbing being in the Olympics. It was kind of an exhibition run in the very beginning. Like, let's see how it does, And that was why in the beginning they had all the athletes compete in speed, boulder, and lead, and they put them all together and won medal for all of them. So I don't know. I don't know if I mean, this could be seen as biased because I'm not participating in the Olympics, and I'm miffed by that. But I also think that it's also potentially not the best representation of the athletes either. Like, there could be a lot better way to have a better athlete representation than I think the decisions they made to only select certain groups within the categories that they chose. Because I know there's like just absolute crushers in the category, like just like me, there's other friends of mine that don't get to compete, and they take their sports so seriously. They are some of the best athletes you won't get to see in this Olympics in 2028 games. So it's not just me that feels this way. It's like, it is what it is, and so I guess you just have to keep moving. But anyway, I have like some viewpoints that we don't have to get super into, but I think that it could have been done a lot better.
Yeah, there's probably some. I mean, it's still so new, and in general, it's probably a pretty granular subject in terms of how it should be done.
Well, and then it's like there's the notion of like, oh, well, there's always 2032, and it's like, dude, kick rocks.
Athletes' windows are small.
Athletes' windows are small, and you can't just adamantly say that they'll continue.
Yeah, because then the person's like, okay, I'm going to believe you, train their ass off for another 4 years, get even more invested, and I guess it didn't work out again. Sorry.
Yeah. Actually, we're only going to do men's B3 this time.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just like basically that ship has sailed, and that'll never be on the table for me, unfortunately. I mean, I guess it could be, but by then I'll be in my I'll be 40, and I just don't. That's just not. I mean, maybe
typically not peak performance.
Yeah, typically, but there could be like a miraculous turn of events. But it really kind of set the tone for like my future, because like I mentioned, I've always been an outdoor climber. That's where my love is. That's where I find my joy and passion in climbing for the most part, or not for the most part. That's where I find my joy and passion in climbing. And so it definitely defined that's the direction I'll be going from now on. And so, yeah, I think climbing performance wise and goals, I'm still pushing myself in boulders. So there's a lot of projects here in Vegas that I want to send that are, V12 to 14. I think that'll be, really rewarding to work towards. Like, the whole process will be really rewarding. And then for sport climbing, I really want to get a lot better at sport climbing. I know I can boulder well, and I know if I put my mind to whatever challenging boulder I want to, I could eventually do it, or get to the point where I have all the training dialed in that I could, someday achieve those things. But sport climbing is such a big undertaking for me. It's a lot to memorize. There's a lot more involved. That's something that I really want to work on. So yeah, you could for sure see some pretty big goals in the near future, I would say, being set.
Let's be real for a second. The current blueprint for a successful climbing podcast is simple. Interview the best climbers in the world. Big names mean big followings, lots of SEO power, and a built-in audience that helps boost every episode. But this show has never been about that. From the beginning, I have made it my mission to bring you stories from the climbing majority. The climbers who don't live in the limelight. The ones who avoid interviews, quietly put up routes, and give back in ways that are rarely recognized. And while that's what makes this show special, it also means we have an uphill battle when it comes to growth. And that is where you come in. If you're psyched about the show, if you've been inspired, entertained, or fired up about an episode, word of mouth is the single most important way you can help the show. Share an episode with a friend. Play one on a group road trip. Post about the show on social media. Jump onto Reddit threads and Mountain Project forums and share with people what you've been listening to. Be sure to tag the show, tag your favorite guests, and spread the word. And if you want to help even more, I'm currently sending posters to climbing gyms around the country. If you'd like to sport one in your climbing gym, be sure to reach out. Email me at theclimbingmajoritypodcast@gmail.com, and I will be sure to send you one. Let's band together and show the climbing community that the climbing majority has a voice.
Outside of your like personal progression as a climber, and you're always striving for like, pushing performance, right? Just personally. What about in the sense of like being an athlete in a way of like in the eyes of a sponsor, the sponsors that you do have? Like, is there a pressure to like build a brand, build an audience, like become more of a content creator? Like, is that kind of part of the field and like the trajectory that you feel like you need to follow, or are you totally comfortable at this point where you're just like, I'm climbing for what I'm doing, and come what may, and I've got my career that I'm working on? Like, how are you kind of balancing those two worlds?
Yeah, I mean, part of me is taking a bit of a step back this year because I started a new career and we're building a company, and that comes with its own set of mental setbacks. It takes a lot, and so yeah, I mean, for a very short time, I'm focusing on that, but it doesn't mean that I'm not providing my sponsors with content and going where they want me to go, whether that be events or really not competitions, but different engagements and stuff. But I think as things have evolved and we're in the world of like short form content and storytelling through video, there's a lot I still am really passionate about as far as wanting to continue to create content that's not just like, candy that people just consume, and it just like you see one video and you keep swiping, but like real substance, being able to impart my view of how I see the world, not just literally as a blind climber, but my values, like who I am, and just be able to tell the story of how I approach climbing and how I approach adventure in general, and share my experience online. The climbing Olympic stuff definitely changes that shape, though, because I think there is a lot to be had in the space of outdoor climbing media, but there is a huge opportunity, especially if you're going to debut the climbing in the Olympics, that could come with some really serious opportunity for sponsors and partnerships and all sorts of things.
You're saying if you were stepping into the Olympic space.
Yeah, for sure.
And that kind of trajectory is no longer an option.
Right.
So you're having to kind of reinvent the path forward.
Yeah. Or maybe not reinvent, but like refine the process. Because I mean, again, like I started as an outdoor climber and I was telling that story and it was going well, but I feel like it wasn't until I stepped into the competition space that you kind of earn your stripes, so to say. Like you show up, outdoor retailer, all these different local competitions, events, festivals. You're just always there. You're always grinding. You're always available. Your face is. You're just you're making a name for yourself. You're on the tour, so to say, and competition was a big part of that. And so I have noticed that if you're not doing those things, the approach has to be completely different. And I was doing that approach to some degree, but now it has to be a lot more targeted. So content has to be a certain way. I mean, you know how it goes with making content. You're like following trends and how people are editing and what it looks like to grab someone's attention right off the rip. And there's a lot that goes into it.
It's also hard to film yourself.
Yeah.
That's the biggest crux that I still don't have an answer for that. It's like, I'm behind the camera still somehow.
You just need we need some of those, the Tesla Optimus robots.
Yeah.
And whenever they're actually really good, you can just give them the camera and be like, now keep this frame like this. And like, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. I see the content of like influencers and people that are always the subject. And I'm always like, who's holding the camera?
Yeah.
Who's the person behind the camera? It's like, I feel like those are the people that are a hero sometimes, because you don't remember the person that's behind the camera.
Yeah.
Half the time you forget that there's someone even that it is a camera. You like feel like you're there.
Yeah.
It's weird.
For sure.
It's a weird place to
Back
be.
when Magnus Midbow was a new YouTuber, I remember he would just like, oh, this is my friend. He's filming me today. And I loved that. It's such a raw interaction. I love Magnus. I love the channel. I as a core climber, I miss like the beginning.
Yeah. What do you mean by that? Expand on that. Like, what's changed?
I mean, just the production quality is insane.
Oh, you used to mean the core for his channel in general, or you're saying media in general? Are you making a broad statement, or?
No, yeah, for Magnus's channel,
okay, got it.
I suppose that I like the raw climbing content, and the mass content is kind of lost on me.
Yeah. Still want to do our film.
Yeah, we will. I need to get a little bit more fit. It turns out.
I need to get more free time. Yeah.
No, it's good in the sense that the goal that I had for that film is it's a hard rock climb, as it turns out. I've made some like decent links on it, but in the timeline that we did have to try and film it, it's good that it's
hard
a
as
little
it
bit
is.
longer of a project. But it's also wonderful because I'm climbing on all sorts of different styles of things and pushing my mental abilities as well as my physical abilities. And I'm becoming a lot better of a rock climber now. And I used to train strength just religiously. That was, again, like falling into some of the things that I feel like I'm the best at are being strong. And so I just kept training those things. And it got me pretty far as a climber, but now it's so, I don't really need to train strength anymore. Now it's all technique based that I'm finding the biggest gains. So it's good to continue that process on real rock, and the goals that I have will follow suit just in the sheer pursuit of mastery.
Yeah. What does that word mean to you? Mastery. Is it the same for everyone, or is it a personal thing?
Maybe surface level, it's like ubiquitous, but I think that it's like just richness of experience, and experience being the movement and understanding the patterns of movement and understanding stone and how you're going to connect to stone and the conditions. Like there's so much that goes into it, like knowing what a good condition day is going to be like, how you're going to feel, what your eating's like, what your sleeping's like, how you treat your body, how you take care of your mental state, how you train, how you stretch, how you recover, the mastery of technique, the mastery of overcoming fear. And mastery is not necessarily just that you're so headstrong all the time, I'm learning. Like no one can be on it all the time. But mastering how you feel in any given day. I'm not on it today. I need to take a step back. I need to give my body or my mind some time to heal. I'm in this phase of life. I'm going to be more kind to myself and give myself more grace. This stage of life is where I can push it. I can redline it. I can be brave. I can be bold and see those mental wedging gains. I've come to find out that mastery is not just I'm this strong, I know this much movement patterns. It's just so all-encompassing.
Do you think that mastery is a destination or a journey?
Journey, for sure.
Do you feel like it ever is in any sense achievable?
That's a great question. No.
Because to me, I think that mastery would be like you've achieved the best version of yourself in a certain modality. You cannot be better. To me, that's personal mastery. I wonder if that's even achievable. Can we reach a limit in that way?
Well, I think if you ask any master, they'll tell you that they know enough to say that they don't know everything. I think that's like...
I guess the worst thing against us with mastery is time.
Yeah.
We don't have enough of it.
Well, there's always something new, right? Like, you know, you look at the best fighters in the world and those guys are masters. They're like many times black belts. They know so many different types of, they've mastered all these different forms of martial art, and then they'll encounter someone in a wrestling technique that just like shuts them down and they're like, what the heck? Like, I didn't know that. So then they have the opportunity to learn and continue to excel through that process. So yeah, I mean, does mastery ever have a stopping point? I don't think so. In pursuit of mastery is kind of a, I don't know. It's an interesting statement because being in pursuit of mastery, I think, just means you've dedicated yourself to something to master something. But because mastery continues to kind of elude you,
evolve in front of you, yeah.
Exactly. That I think at some point you can for sure be called a master. I mean,
in relative
absolutely.
terms to other people, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. But as you gain your knowledge, I think, at least I've realized that the deeper I get into rock climbing, the more I'm like, there's so much that I need to work on. And I think you can probably master like individual parts of it for sure. Like being a master of like, oh, that's a crack climbing master. That guy is really good at roof climbing. That guy is very, like he's a true aid technician, you know.
The path to mastery.
It's fake.
Oh man. Well, dude, it's been rad sitting down with you finally.
Dude, you too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really was looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And
hope it's everything you chalked it up to be.
Dude, it's all and more. I get to sit down with my friend in a cool studio and talk about some really awesome things and share parts of my life that I haven't shared before and be vulnerable.
Yeah, man. No, I appreciate you being willing to chat about this kind of stuff and yeah, to share your life. And yeah, it's been great to meet you, and I'm stoked to see where life takes the both of us.
Yeah, totally. A lot more adventures to come, I'm sure.
For sure. We're going to get you on some gear.
Yeah, to be continued. We'll have to get on some multi-pitch adventures, and I'm going to plug some gear along the way.